I need to work on getting a camera that doesn't turn everything backwards. Of course, now one thing I don't need to work on anymore is my Smith Wesson Model 60. This one right here, it first made its appearance on the channel in November of 2019. It belonged to somebody that meant a great deal to me, so it carries a lot of sentimental value. And I do carry it. This thing goes in my carry rotation and it gets carried often. Part of what made me do this makeover was, because I really like it for one, but I was shooting my 627. Now this 627 is a freaking hoss. You see that Performance Center right there on the side? None of that Performance Center stuff is left in here. I sent it to TK Custom and they went through and sent me a baggie of all of those cheap Performance Center parts. And this thing is just butter smooth. So going from something like that, it shoots really well, but you don't want to carry it. So now something like this, it carries really well, but you don't want to shoot it, right? So having the success what I had with TK Custom on that one, I ordered a set of the TK Custom springs just because I wanted to lighten this thing up. Putting this TK Custom set of springs in here has made the world a difference. And I put a set of VZ grips on it. These are the G10s, they're a boot cut, and oh baby, I hadn't seen your serial number in a little while. And look at that backstrap. Baby got backstrap. Dude, I like it. My younger son and I, we took this thing out and we had a really good time shooting it. It was a nice bonding experience. And I'll tell you what, for a 13-year-old shooting a double action snubby, he didn't do too awful bad.
What do you think about it?
Shoots pretty darn well.
Yeah.
So then I took my turn and we ran several cylinders through it. Not bad. I started getting a little sloppy there at the end. Right there, multiple cylinders. Like I said, I started getting sloppy at the end. You can see a couple that I've dropped. But look at that. All in the size of my little pocket gun. Freaking dig it. Sentimental value, and she works. Now it's time to give you a closer look at the transformation of this thing. I am definitely loving the way that this turned out. Now I do have my pinky hanging off. Now that is one thing that these Altamonts did, was they gave you a place for your pinky to sit. But one thing that is to be said is I carry this thing in the pocket a lot. So if you think about it, you've got material here, you got material here. This boot grip that VZ offers here, that boot grip doesn't fill up the whole pocket. So the front of my pant is just a little bit looser and it makes it feel physically lighter. So just not having that pressure on it makes it feel physically lighter. Now, like I said, these things have looked great and they've done a good job over the years. But you can see, being up against my skin, that screw was starting to rust. That wasn't looking the greatest. So with VZ offering that stainless right there, that kind of sent me over the top on buying these because they were available either black or stainless. And I wanted the stainless. Now, like I said, don't let me talk badly about these. The Altamonts, they definitely serve their purpose. But what I want to show you is, look right here. Now, I removed those. Do you see how much more stainless you can see? And how much more rebated that is? Simply enough for speed loaders. Now, I did a video on these Zeta 6s some time ago. That is the Zeta 6J clip. And right there is the model number. If you're handy with Google, you can do the thing. But simply enough, just using a speed loader, it gives you more clearance to actually get in there. You see that? So that actually feels better for using with these Zeta 6s. And they've got flats cut in them. This would be more of the angle. I'm just reaching around a camera right now. But I use these far more. Matter of fact, I wanted to get my HK and use my HK in this comparison, but I've been using these Zeta 6s and I kind of lost my HK speed loader. So that's a little bit of a disappointment. Now, as for the springs, This right here came from TK Custom. Like I said, I had a lot of great luck out of this 627, so I got these from TK Custom. Now, with this, you do get an extended firing pin and a lightened spring for that. That extended firing pin is for the newer model stuff. Let me double check that. Now, this one has got a hammer mounted firing pin. So I did not need the frame mounted in channel extended firing pin. That's that burgundy piece right there. And that spring, I did not need those. Now you'll use those on newer model stuff. The newer models with, especially the shrouded hammer. The ones that have the full body around the hammer. So simply enough, I didn't need those. So this is my Factory 2 springs. And I will say that these TK springs, let me go ahead and expose this thing real quick. Let me take a second to remove these panels. Boom, there's some YouTube-friendly gunsmithing right there. Now, right here is one of the TK Custom springs. They have got a really nice, I don't know if they're powder coated or painted, but they feel really nice. Putting these in, they were so much less pressure than the factory ones. Most of the time, removing a spring is easier than installing a spring. This was reverse. So you have this spring here, and then there's a spring that rides right there. You just swap those two springs, and boy, did it make a difference. Now, while I got in there, there would be a little bit of pocket lint had fallen in there and whatnot. So while I got in there, when I had the side plate off, I got in there and cleaned everything up. I put a little Freedom Lube in there. That made all the difference. I had been hung up on the Lucas stuff. Then I got this little sample bottle of Freedom Lube. I think I'm going to get me a bigger bottle and lube my Freedom with it. So now that makes this thing feel so much better. I mean, I'm talking just a lot smoother and a lot lighter. It's supposed to come in about 8.5 pounds. I know my trigger gauge at home, I tried to do it when it was stock, and it was probably somewhere around 13 pounds. I started pulling it, it maxed out, and there was actually a notch in it that said LOL. Actually, I'm just playing. I thought that would be funny if somebody would make a trigger pull gauge that would max out and just say LOL. That would be hilarious. So let's go ahead and pop this grip back on here. Boom, reinstalled. It's so silly how I can't put that one screw in here on camera. So now they're going to be a blue million of you that are going to be like, Doug, you big dummy. I've already heard of this stupid thing. I've been using them for forever. I'm on my second Birchwood Casey lead remover and polishing cloth. This thing right here stays shiny because of it, and this thing got all of the carry crud knocked off of it very easily. This lead remover and polishing cloth, I gave $9 for it locally, and boy, you want to talk about something that just dang works. No additional cleaners, effortless removal. I mean, it'll leave like a little bit of an oily film on it, but you just take a non-scratching, like a microfiber, just wipe that film right off of it, and she doesn't look like it's 5 years older than me. I mean, this thing was made between 74 and 77, and she's looking pretty daggum good. I put a lot of miles on this thing this year, well, actually in the last 3 years, and she's still looking really good. And that's how that 686 stays looking like a queen right there. Now this one, I really enjoy my 686. It doesn't get carried much, but it is a dang fine shooter. And then back to those Zeta 6s, I enjoy this as a 5-round carrier there. I keep one in the cup holder of the truck, and usually what I'll do is I'll keep one of these in my pocket. Now they do carry a lot better in these straight strips just in the pocket, but as for in the truck, I'll keep that right there, like I said, in the cup holder loaded.
You know what I just realized? I could almost hide this thing in my beard. Dun, 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 dun.
Now, my shooting impressions of this are much better than they were. I was shooting it rather okay when it had the 13-pound trigger pull. Now that this thing's down to about 8.5, it's shooting really well. But now I am grouping a little to the right. I'm aiming at the bolt in the middle of the steel target, and I'm hitting a little bit to the right. So either I'm pulling it a little bit to the right and doing that really dang consistently, or this thing does shoot just a little bit right. She is a fixed sight model, so I kind of may have to just start holding left, do a little bit of Kentucky windage to hit dead center, or it may wind up being an adjustment in me if I'm actually pulling
the trigger to the right as I'm sweeping through. But either way, man, putting everything right there in basically the size of the gun, that's smaller than my hand. Most people complain about shooting a snubby. Most people complain about shooting double action. Shooting a snubby and double action is like a double whammy. I'm tickled with these results. This right here, this thing has turned out to just be a good shooting little gun. I didn't dread it before, but now I am actually a little bit more confident in the way that I shoot this thing. So I may actually shoot it a little bit more often, because that's where this one comes in. This one, I shoot this one off camera far more than you even see. I mean, seriously, like I said, off camera. I'll probably shoot this thing 2 or 3 times before I even turn on the camera once. I haven't made a video at this one in, I guess, over a year. I'll actually link to that below. You can go check that one out. This thing, I said it was slicker than a greased pig and prettier than your prom date. But anyway, we'll see you next video. I love you, and I love my little Smith & Wesson that I can't even hug. It's so tiny.